Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Hawks Latest, your number one source for news, updates, rumors, opinions, and you guessed it, the latest and the greatest regarding the Atlanta Hawks. I'm your host, Zach Langley, aka Langley ATL, and today we are going to talk about several storylines from free agency to the draft. I mean, the Hawks may not have necessarily any cap space this offseason, but make no mistake, they have flexibility, they have assets, and they have the $25 million trade exception that they got from the DeJounte Murray trade last offseason, and the $12.8 million mid-level exception that they're going to have in free agency this offseason. So both of those things could significantly shift their roster heading into the 2025-2026 season. And as the draft approaches, we're going to be breaking down some of the various factors that really go into what's going on around the Hawks right now. So in today's breakdown, we're going to dive into how Atlanta can use that massive trade player exception to their advantage and finally use it in possible trade targets like Cam Johnson, obviously regarding the trade player exception, and a free agent target in Nickeil Alexander-Walker from the Minnesota Timberwolves. And then we're going to take a deep look at draft prospect Thomas Sorber, who could really give the Hawks a much-needed interior presence moving forward with this young core, and he would fit right in. So we're going to talk about that a little more. But without further ado, let's get into it and talk about the Hawks looking to use that $25 million traded player exception. The Atlanta Hawks don't have traditional cap space this summer. We know that this is something that has been known for and been similar to past seasons for the Atlanta Hawks, but that doesn't mean they're out of the mix. So far from it, really. What they do have is the traded player exception worth $25.3 million, obviously created in the DeJounte Murray deal with the New Orleans Pelicans last offseason, where he was sent to New Orleans for Dyson Daniels, Larry Nance Jr., and 2 unprotected first-round picks. And here's the key. That exception actually expires on July 7th. So the Hawks, if they're going to use it, they got to cook something up pretty quickly, and there's no better time to do that than obviously the NBA draft, which is just in a few days now. So because the Hawks are sitting well below the luxury tax and the first apron, they are in a rare position to obviously absorb a player directly into that exception without having to send matching salary back. I mean, they can just send out a pick for a player that's making up to obviously $25 million. It's really a rare situation and something that the Hawks haven't seen in some time. I mean, we've had player exceptions and obviously they haven't used them. But now, while we're in a pivotal offseason, it's like the Hawks really might want to capitalize on this. So, I mean, this gives general manager Onzi Soleil and the front office a ton of leverage in these trade talks when obviously Atlanta can take in more salary than most other teams they're negotiating with can, obviously, other than Brooklyn, which just happens to be the team that Cam Johnson is currently on. So, I mean, like I said, the Hawks in previous years have been reluctant to fully utilize trade exceptions. I mean, obviously with John Collins' trade exception, that obviously expired. And I mean, this is a pivotal offseason. So the Hawks are reportedly very active in a lot of trade talks, and they've been getting involved with plenty of teams. They're looking for ways to use this tool to bring in proven talent. So I expect that to really heat up. And one name that's really being floated right now around the league and could be potentially linked to the Hawks, although there's been nothing obviously confirmed so far. Cam Johnson of the Brooklyn Nets. So let's talk a little bit about Cam Johnson. So the Brooklyn Nets forward is obviously earning just over $20 million annually, and that's obviously well within Atlanta's traded player exception. And he could be exactly what the Hawks are missing. I mean, Cam Johnson has been a very underrated player for the entire course of his career. I mean, he hasn't been in the league for very long, but he obviously came out of college with a little more age than most prospects around his class. He is someone who is a very good contributor and a very good fit really with any team in the modern NBA. I mean, so he is a career 39% three-point shooter from deep, and last year he shot 40% from deep. I mean, he's a capable scorer really at all three levels. He averaged 18 points off the bench in stretches where he was fully healthy. I mean, obviously, he not off the bench. He actually started for the Brooklyn Nets last year, obviously, because who else was going to start over Cam Johnson? But if he were to come to Atlanta, he would be coming off the bench, and he could be that perfect power forward scorer that Atlanta could bring off the bench or start anytime Jalen Johnson goes down, which is obviously a major concern. So, I mean, with Brooklyn reportedly looking to move up in the draft, and this has been something that's been discussed heavily among Brooklyn Nets fans and people just paying close attention to the NBA and certain transactions transactions. The Nets are aggressively trying to move up in the draft, and the Hawks do hold picks 13 and 22, making them an obvious trade partner, at least to get in discussions with them regarding Cam Johnson. And I mean, when there's smoke, there's fire. So, I mean, let's hope for a little bit of smoke. They could use one of those picks to sweeten the pot a little bit and try to convince Brooklyn to send Cam Johnson here to Atlanta, because he would be a perfect fit. I mean, imagine this. Cam Johnson joins a Hawks team that desperately needs more scoring in the second unit. I mean, he slides into that six-man role very easily, provide some spacing, high IQ movement, and a little bit of veteran experience here and there. I mean, he would act as a catch-and-shoot wing for Trae Young and Dyson Daniels, and really help bolster that second unit and give them some reliable scoring, something that they need. And then obviously if they can re-sign Karis LeVert, they would have two very good scorers off the bench who can obviously both defend, and then Atlanta will just work to maintain that versatility both within the starting lineup and in the second unit. And it could be something that could be very effective and lead to Atlanta winning a lot of games next year in the Eastern Conference. So, I mean, it would cost a pick and maybe a depth piece, but you'd essentially be using cap flexibility to buy a legitimate impact player, and that is who Cam Johnson is. I mean, there's also a strategic element here. If the Hawks move on from one of their higher salaried wings, which they obviously have last season especially, and then obviously with Clint obviously on his way out, I mean, he's not a wing, but that's more salary even going out. I mean, with Hunter leaving last year, I mean, Johnson would play kind of a similar role to Hunter, although he wouldn't demand the ball as much, and he would be a much better off-ball player, which is something that Atlanta wouldn't need. I mean, Johnson could really step in without disrupting the financial structure of the roster, especially with these guys going out and him coming in. I mean, this is the type of deal that really makes sense on both the court and the books, so it's something the Hawks should absolutely look into. Another name that actually was recently connected to the Hawks, and something that I really think they should get deep into and explore, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. So in recent weeks, there have been several reports that the Wolves might not be able to retain Alexander Walker after he had an impressive season with them last year. So the 6'6 guard from Minnesota, actually Bleacher Report's Eric Pincus recently predicted that the Hawks could steal Nickeil Alexander-Walker from the Timberwolves using their non-taxpayer mid-level exception, obviously valued at $12.8 million. They could use all of it to bring in a guy like Alexander Walker, the cousin of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So NAW averaged 9.4 points, 3.2 rebounds, and 2.7 assists last season. I mean, showcasing an all-around game at the guard position. I mean, he's really a wing. He can play everywhere. I mean, and more importantly, he's seen as one of the more attainable two-way guards on the market, something that Atlanta could use more of, although in recent years it's been growing more for Atlanta. In terms of them having a two-way force in the guards, whether that's in the starting lineup or off the bench. I mean, he brings 3-and-D versatility and is quietly improved as a passer and defender, especially on the defensive end. I mean, he has really showcased some elite instincts, and it's someone who I really think Atlanta should prioritize bringing in if they get the chance. I mean, with Minnesota, dealing with a heavy payroll and their eyes on younger prospects, younger players on their team like Terrence Shannon, NAW might be on the move. And I mean, for a team like Atlanta, who's expected to bring back all of their guys, all of their rotation guys at least, all their starters, and then obviously there will be some shakeup to the bench. He could provide for the perfect balance as a complementary guard behind Trae and Dyson. Someone who can run the offense in spurts, defend multiple positions, and knock down catch-and-shoot threes. I mean, a lot of this would obviously depend on if Atlanta can bring back Karis LeVert, because I don't know if they would still be interested in him if they know they can bring back LeVert. However, he could provide as a good fallback option, who's honestly probably better for Atlanta's long-term core. So if we had to choose between the two, I'm taking Alexander Walker. But obviously we want to bring back LeVert, and LeVert wants to be here. So, of course, we would take him back. Maybe we bring back both. Not bring back Alexander Walker, but we bring him in as well as bringing back LeVert. I mean, he may not be the splashiest signing, but it's the kind of smart value play that really builds sustainable depth for a playoff push, which is something that Atlanta is striving for. So Now we're going to turn to the event that is 3 days away, ladies and gentlemen, the NBA draft, and specifically to a Georgetown big man named Thomas Sorber. We've talked about Sorber before on this channel, but there is some steam that's picking up around Atlanta potentially taking him either at 13 or 22, just depending on what the GMs are thinking on draft night. So the Georgetown freshman has rapidly, risen up the boards over the past several months as teams really prioritize bringing in a good big man because this league is just getting bigger, and a lot of teams right now lack these elite big men, and they could take a gamble on a guy like Sorber. So the Hawks, holding picks 13 and 22, are reportedly very interested in the skills of the Georgetown big man. So at 6'10" with a wingspan over 7 feet, Sorber brings a rare combination of physicality and skill for a 19-year-old big who played obviously at the Division I level. He averaged 14.5 points, 8.5 rebounds, and 2 blocks per game as a freshman in the Big East. That kind of production, especially with his super efficient 57% from the floor and soft touch around the rim, really do make him an intriguing long-term fit in Atlanta and someone who the Hawks should explore at probably more realistically 22. I don't know if I would take him at 13. I feel like that would be kind of a reach, but if he's there at 22, I like the fit. I like the fit as someone who is going to come in behind Onyeka Okongwu. But where it really gets interesting is, Clint Capella and Larry Nance Jr. both probably on their way out. Obviously, Larry Nance Jr. is still, that's kind of up in the air, but Clint is more than likely on his way out. Sorber could really step in as a rotational big right away and immediately play as that backup guy for Onyeka. He could partially, compete with Onyeka for maybe starting minutes down the line. Everything is on the table right now. So, he's a solid rim protector. He's an effective post scorer. And he's really shown flashes of stretch shooting and elite passing instincts for his position. Obviously, while not, super prevalent, this is something that is obviously growing with his game as he is still super young. He's not an explosive leaper, and in transition, his play is a bit limited, but he's the kind of foundational piece you could take a chance on, especially late in the lottery or in the early 20s where Atlanta has their selection. So, if Atlanta walks away from draft night with Thomas Sorber at 22 and then maybe like either a guard or a wing at 13 and still manages to land a veteran like Cam Johnson or Nickeil Alexander-Walker, that's a big-time offseason, and I would consider it a huge win for the Atlanta Hawks looking to make some noise in the Eastern Conference next season. So to recap, while the Hawks won't be operating with traditional cap space this offseason, they are in a position of strength. Don't get it twisted. The $25 million trade exception and the $12.8 million mid-level exception, the flexibility under the tax, and, 2 top 22 draft picks give them some real ammunition to make some noise. Cam Johnson could be a home run traded player exception target. Nickeil Alexander-Walker might be the value free agent addition that really rounds out the backcourt depth. And Thomas Sorber, he might just be the next anchor in Atlanta's paint moving forward into a next few years of Hawks basketball that could potentially change the outlook of the future of the franchise. So we're going to be tracking every single update here on Hawks Latest, as we're always doing every single day. Obviously leading up to the July 7th trade exception deadline and the NBA draft just a few days away, it's going to be super busy here on Hawks Latest, so be sure to like this video, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell so you don't miss a single update here on Hawks Latest. So once again, I'm Zach Langley. Thank you guys for watching.